things underway. So, good evening. This is the regularly scheduled October 12th meeting of the Geneva Planning and Zoning Commission. I am Scott Stocking, Chairman of the Commission. Tonight, for the benefit of those in the audience, I'm joined by Rebecca Holman, Mike Slifka, Adam Mitskill, Commissioner Tim Moran, and John Mead. We have City Planner Matt Busing and Assistant Planner Jesse Mussey. The Planning and Zoning Commission meeting air live on the Geneva Broadcast Network, which can be viewed on Comcast Channel 10, AT&T UVerse Channel 99, and MetroNet Channel 93, or the city's YouTube channel. This evening, the Commission will host a public hearing for Agenda Item 5A. As the chairman of tonight's meeting, I will guide the public, applicant, and the Commission through the public hearing process, which is outlined in the back of the meeting agenda. Please see this page for further details. The Commission will open the public hearing, and the applicant will provide an opening statement and a brief overview of their requests. Commission members will then first have the opportunity to ask questions and make comments. This will be followed by a public comment and testimony regarding the requests. Audience members will be called on and given an opportunity to comment. We ask that you state your name, address, and when is your turn to speak. If your comment has already been made and it's not necessary to repeat it, remind members of the public to refrain from veering off topic and direct comments that are relevant to the requests being considered. Following the end of public testimony, the applicant will have an opportunity to provide a closing statement and answer questions or respond to any comments made from members of the public. Additional questions or comments may be stated by the Commission, but the public hearing will not be reopened. The public hearing may then be closed, followed by Commission deliberation on separate requests. Any person speaking during the public meeting agreed to understand anything they say will be considered sworn testimony and affirmed to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. In order to help the quality of the meeting broadcast, I would remind commissioners to mute themselves except when they are addressing the Commission. Commissioners are encouraged to state their name prior to speaking or prior to providing a roll call vote to better assist our record keepers. For example, stocking yea, nay, or abstain. Okay, any questions on that? That's pretty much how we'll proceed. All right, Anna, you want to call the roll, please?
Mead,
Mead here.
Evans, Slifka,
Slifka here.
Holloman,
Holloman here.
Mataskill,
Mataskill here.
Moran,
Moran here.
Stocking.
Stocking. Okay, next item is approval of this evening's agenda.
Move to approve the agenda. Slifka.
Mataskill second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and next item number 4 is approval of minutes of the September 28th, 2023 meeting.
Moran, move to approve.
Holloman second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we'll get right into the public hearing items. 5A, it's the Quick Trip PUD amendments. It's a request for 2 amendments to the East Gateway PUD and modify exhibits 7, permitted special and prohibited uses in the commercial areas, to allow a gas station as a permitted use for the parcel B1, and 2, modify the street layout for parcels A-C as described in Exhibit 3 PUD Land Use Plan by removing the proposed streets. The applicant is Skylar Evans of Quick Trip. The location pins are 12-01-351-015, 12-01-351-012, 12-1-351-013, 12-01-101-002, 101-003, and 12-01-101-004. So that's quite a few pins. And that's it. So folks who are going to be giving testimony tonight, please rise so I can swear you in. That means you signed a seat or you're planning on giving testimony in this matter. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, Matt, the record, please.
All right, so for tonight's meeting, the contents of this file include an application for a planned unit development amendment filed by Skylar Evans of Quick Trip dated August 17th, 2023. It includes the following items: a project narrative, a plan set, an environmental sustainability overview, a legal description, a proof of ownership, list of property owners within 500 feet of the subject property, an affidavit attesting to the accuracy of the list of property owners within 500 feet of the subject property, a copy of the letter to all property owners within 500 feet providing notice of the application being filed, a certificate of publication from the Daily Herald for the legal notice that was published on September 27th, 2023 for tonight's public hearing, a copy of the public hearing notice mailed to all property owners within 500 feet, and a staff report from the Community Development Department to the Planning and Zoning Commission dated October 12th, 2023.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. All right, we'll hear from the applicant.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Skylar Evans. I'm the real estate project manager working on this for Quick Trip. As you guys are all well aware, it's on the corner of Kirk Road and Illinois 38. But before we get into the project, I just wanted to give a quick overview of Quick Trip and our company. We started in 1958. We're still currently owned and operated by the founding family. We are not a public company. We are private, so we don't have to worry about shareholders. The employees are the shareholders. So we work hard for ourselves, and we show that with each location that we maintain. We're right around 1,000 stores at this point, nationwide. And you know, we're open 24 hours, but we really do provide safety for our employees. So we have a 360-degree security system. Even though we're open 24/7, we do ensure that all of our employees are safe. We have a 24/7 operated security center as well. That is here in the States. It's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's ran between 80 and 90 personnel are trained to work their security as well as customer service. So any complaints or anything that come in, we don't outsource that. We keep that in-house, and we handle it all here in the States. Quick Trip's also a company that invests into the communities that we operate in. Last year, we donated around $50 million to nonprofits. Some of the big nonprofits that we support is Folds of Honor and United Way. We're also a nationally recognized safe place. And what that means is all the employees that are in our stores, in our service center, are trained to help endangered youth get to a safe space. And then we work with the local authorities and the National Safe Place program to make sure that they get somewhere safe. And that's everybody that works at Quick Trip's trained on how to handle those. Quick Trip's really good to its employees. I'm a really good example of that. We promote from within. I started in the stores as a night assistant 4 years ago, almost 5 now. And I worked my way up through to the service center. And I did that for 2 years, where I worked answering the phone calls, working on IT, and remotely fixing our programs within the stores, as well as doing security and working with local authorities. We also have a tuition reimbursement program. We offer scholarships to the employees and their families. We also offer a child care program, which helps families put their kids in child care. As I said before, the employees own the company. We're all invested into it, so we work really hard to make sure that all of our locations are pristine. We generate between right around $1.3 million annually in local and state taxes. And another thing that we're really proud of is through COVID and through the history of our company, we've never laid anybody off, which is hard to find these days. So we're really proud of that. Getting into the project, this is our site plan. We've got diesel fueling positions. We've got 16 passenger fueling positions, 64 parking spaces. And our building offers food. We have a made-to-order program where we cook food fresh for you in our kitchen. It's all Quick Trip food. It's not anything that we outsource. We don't have another company come in and run our food service program. So we're allowed to maintain our quality and staff. Currently, as we all know, the site's kind of undeveloped at this point. Our landscaping plan is here, a little bit more detail so you can see a little bit better. We want to make sure that we have a product for the city that is not an eyesore. We want to make sure that we're presentable, that you guys are proud to have us here, and that we're proud to be here. So we work really hard on our landscaping, making sure that everything looks great all the time. Building elevations, these are what our stores look like. They're about 20 feet tall. We do make sure that all the equipment on top of the buildings are covered. Canopy, this is our fuel, our passenger side, and this is our diesel canopy. Current view from the intersection. This is what it should look like. Obviously, this is a rendering, but these are pretty close to what all of our locations look like. From 38 State Street, another view here. Our truck entrance, and an overall view. And I wanted to touch on some of the amendments that we're requesting, or the changes for the PUD. The south portion of the parcel is really steep. It's not conducive to allowing other development in behind the Quick Trip there, which is the reason why we would be asking to remove that road, because it won't service anything on the backside. The only thing that we'll have there is our detention system. And then also the B1 allowing B1 to allow diesel or fuel cells. Just a portion of this entire development is B1. The other two parcels, the other two portions that are within the gateway do allow fuel cells. So we would only be changing what's right there on the corner. And that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
All right, very good. Any questions from the commission? Yes, Jim?
And I know you covered this in your previous presentation, but how big is the building?
So our building is, I'm sorry, I don't have the exact square footage. I believe it's right around 7,500 square feet.
Okay. And there's seating for 100 or so people, I think you said last time?
So we don't actually have seating within our building. Again, we're convenience store, in and out. We do have a couple tables up front that allow for seating, but we don't really accommodate that.
Okay. And my last question, the green triangle there, and I know one of the commissioners asked this last time, is that going to remain just a piece of open space, or is there some plan in the future to put it to use?
Yeah, so as of right now, it's going to be a green space. There is a possibility at some point in the future that something can come in there, as long as it fits within the PUDs that we have on the East Gateway.
And do you know how big that is?
I don't have the exact dimensions, but I can get those to you.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I had, Scott.
All right, thank you, Tim. Yes, John?
Just to play off of you, it sure looks like it could hold another Quick Trip building, doesn't it? So, but could you, for me, and Matt, you might need to assist here. I want to understand a little bit more about the south end of the property. I realize it tails off.
Okay.
Elevation-wise. I want to understand what of the parcels, are you buying everything all the way down? There's a property to the south. It says, I don't know what they do. They access it from underneath Kirk Road. I don't know what they do.
Yeah, Reed Road, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, so we are purchasing up to the Reed Road line.
Okay, so you will own everything from Route 38, Roosevelt Road, down to that other operating parcel?
Down to the road, yes. Down to the corner of the road is what we would be under contract.
Do you know if, I'm trying to figure out, is there any land between your property and the property that's owned by somebody else? Are you buying everything all of parcels C, B, and B1?
See if we can pull.
And I think Matt might
Yeah,
have.
so
it over.
on here, this is, as you can see, all the way down to Reed Road.
Okay.
We would be purchasing
So
that
that, so you
portion.
will own all of that?
Yes.
Okay, so there's not another, in your mind, it's not undevelopable, but it would be difficult to develop because of the gradation?
Yes, so with the amount of trees that are there, and the tree ordinance and the amount of grade change that we have at that portion of the property, it would require a very large amount of fill to come in and make it stable for another business to come in and operate behind us.
Because optically, it looks like you've got a lot of land that you're not going to be using. The retention or detention capabilities you have south of your, of the truck parking, is that all underground? Is that going to be a pond or a grassy area that will accumulate water and detain it?
Right, yeah, so it will be an above-ground detention system,
Okay.
so it'll be a green space, grass.
And that doesn't have a shape on here. I think on the original drawing, it had kind of a kidney shape or a oblong
Yeah.
shape on the PUD itself. There'll be flat land and just trees to the south of it down to Reed Road, is that right?
Correct, yep.
Okay. If you ever entertained or wanted to entertain selling that, is there potential access from Reed Road to that site?
So I can't actually speak to Reed Road just because we're not gonna
Right.
have an access agreement to it. But I don't see that there would be an issue with access from Reed Road as far as what I see.
Is that a city road, township road? What is
I
it?
think it's is that unincorporated?
It is unincorporated. I'd have to check and see.
It's probably a township or
Yeah,
something.
I'm not sure the ownership
Yeah,
of.
the only access is from the east side of Kirk Road. You come underneath Kirk and
Yeah,
access
you
this
definitely go
property.
underneath Kirk.
Right. So I guess that dovetails into another question. Should you decide to sell it, and I guess you control the land, so you could hold it in perpetuity, but if someone wanted to buy that, would you be amenable to allowing access down the westernmost portion of your property line for someone to access that? Obviously, you don't want to, or wouldn't think you'd want to mess up your circuitous patterns of traffic
Right.
on your site, but you do have an ingress-egress road that is curvilinear and comes in. It would not take too much imagination to allow access to that southern portion, should someone want to develop that.
Right, and so what we plan on doing is we plan on widening the access road to our detention system that may, on that southern portion of kind of where our truck parking is.
Okay.
That in the future, if at some point we did sell, it would possibly be able to be an easement to the southern portion of the property.
Okay, the impetus from my initial questioning was if you weren't buying all of it, I hate to see a parcel of land essentially landlocked that could not be developed because we don't have a lot of excess land in our town.
Right.
And we'd like to see what can be developed appropriately, so.
Yeah, and so Quick Trip wouldn't have any issues working that agreement out with if we did sell that, we wouldn't have any issues
Right.
working a shared easement out with anybody.
And obviously, since you're going to own it, if you're going to sell it, you're going to be incented to work with the buyer if you're
Yes,
trying,
sir.
if you're trying to offload some land that you're carrying.
Yes, sir.
Okay. It says here, regarding the street layout, the modification is necessary due to the varying grades on the site, making it impractical to facilitate development across to the south, access to from the south. Furthermore, we have made adjustments to the detention berm, widening it to 15 feet and introduced access gates along the fence line. Where are you talking about when you mention that?
So
And you can use the mouse or whatever.
Yeah, so I apologize, I don't have that here, but as you stated, our, let's see. Does it have a laser light? It does. Okay, so, as you mentioned before, the kidney,
Okay.
shaped detention systems right around here. The access road that we would have would be coming here and, allowing, right on the, basically where the grades drop off severely is kind of the edge of where that access road would be.
So they would be able to, somehow there'd be a curb cut or something from the truck parking that allows somebody to get back there if they needed to?
Yeah, there'll be an access to that, maintenance road.
Okay. All right. I think that might be it for now. Let me see here. What's my shoes? I'll get into this later. I was just going to talk permitted use versus special use, but we can wait until we're done with property level questions.
Question.
Yes, Rebecca?
And this, I apologize if this is, if I missed it. Are there going to be the EV charging stations?
So we currently don't have those planned out here. As a company, we're testing them out currently. But most EV charging stations advertise 20 minutes for a full charge with the stage 2. We have found that it's more like 35 to 40 minutes for a full charge. And as a convenience store that operates on in and out service, it doesn't really fit our business model at this point.
You have a lot of space.
We do, yeah. So, like I said, we're testing them out in another market. It's nothing that we're gonna say, no, we're never gonna do. But we just wanna make sure that the technology is gonna be worth as much as we're gonna put into it, because there's really no return on EV charging stations at this point. It's kind of there and it's just out there. But as soon as technology comes up and as more electric cars are coming into the market, obviously as a business, we do have to adjust. So that's why we're testing them out currently. And I know we're still quite a ways out on getting to a construction point on this and having this open. So there is
Okay.
time there for us to find something that might work.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Anna?
Can you walk me through the traffic flow for the trucks? You had mentioned that the entry is coming off of Roosevelt and around that green space. I just kind of want to better understand how they would fuel up and the parking as well, and how that would work.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this one might be a little bit better here. So as they come up, Roosevelt, coming around, they'll be able to loop. So what we plan on is a loop here, being able to come around. Or they also, we're currently working with KDOT on this right now. And King County has a lot of stuff going on with Kirk Road construction at this point. So obviously that's something we'll have to figure out. But what we plan on is we also have, the trucks are able to come out and take a right-hand turn here. There is enough room with our truck turning movements to allow for a full U-turn at our spaces. And I will shoot that over to you guys. I do apologize if that wasn't included in this packet.
Thanks, yeah, I was just trying to better understand how they would pull in to fuel up, and if they were to pull into a space, how they would pull into the space if they were going this way, so they are able to do a U-turn and pull into a spot if needed after fueling
Yes,
up.
yeah, so we try to make sure that the trucks are able to make those U-turns within our site.
Okay.
Try to keep them as safe as possible.
All right. And as far as the proximity, where's the closest truck fueling location to this location? Are you aware of like your closest?
I don't know exactly where it's at. It is, I know that we're in the general area. We're the only ones that would be offering truck fuel. It's a pretty significant drive from this location to another one that offers that.
That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Michael?
Just one clarification. I think you said earlier that the three proposed curb cuts they're all consistent with what's shown on the PUD?
Yeah, that is correct, yeah. It's primarily the actual roadways that are going to be the differentiation there.
And you've had discussions with IDOT and KDOT on these? And
Yes, so we currently have we currently have our application in for IDOT, and we're waiting on their comments back. We still probably got about 3 weeks for that. And this week, we sat down with IDOT or KDOT on Monday, I believe.
Okay.
We have talked to them. They're okay with us submitting an application and getting comments and then adjusting from there. So that's our next step with KDOT.
Okay.
Is to get this sent in to them so that we can make sure that we're within their requirements as well.
Matt, you got a follow-up on that?
Well, just a general comment. I mean, so this is kind of the first step
Yeah.
for the applicant. They'll
Yeah.
have to resubmit for a final kind of PUD, which will be more of a formal kind of site plan review for us.
Yeah, I just wanted to see
Even-
where they are in the process with the state and county, because
Right.
that's time consuming.
It is,
takes a
yeah.
while.
I think we're all aware of how long IDOT and KDOT take, so, but again, we're waiting on them, we're working with them, and we'll continue to keep you guys in the loop as we go through that process.
Okay. Tim, did you have something?
Yeah, just a question. So the bottom right of this schematic, is that intended to eventually be a left-hand turn into the store coming from the east?
So this turn right here.
Correct.
Yeah, so, we plan on that being allowing the passenger vehicles to come in from the full access and not the right-in only, just to give them another option to be able to move in throughout our site.
Yeah, I mean, my concern would be 43-foot trailers crossing this rather wide segment of Route 38.
Okay, so are you asking if we're gonna allow a left-hand turn in here?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, so, again, that's, IDOT will probably say something about that. We're, we're expecting some stuff, and we're expecting to make some changes, along our plan, with them, just.
But that's on the table with KDOT. It hasn't been decided.
Correct, yeah, and that's actually IDOT, Illinois 38's IDOT control.
Okay.
Kirk Road is, Kane County control.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, John?
Not to beat this up too badly, because I know we'll have another opportunity if you come back with the first site plan review, as Matt said. But if for some reason you couldn't get the curb cut onto Kirk Road, would that be, in your mind, a deal killer? Because that really impacts your truck traffic. You can't have the trucks going through where the cars are filling or.
Yes, yeah, so, as unfortunate as that is, Kirk Road access is very, very important to
Right.
us. And in the way I see it, it would also be very important for any other business coming in that has any kind of, big following.
Right.
That they would also like to have another way to get, for customers to get out. You can't just push everybody to Illinois 38. I don't think IDOT would like that for anybody. So
Right.
Kirk Road's a pretty important piece for us.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Adam? Yeah.
I've just got one thing for city staff. I was looking under the review comments, and it mentions that the proposed use of a gas station is consistent with the underlining zoning district and East State Street sub-area plan as an automobile-oriented use. So the State Street sub-area plan and then the East Gateway PUD are in some ways conflicting?
Yeah, I mean, I guess technically, like Skylar mentioned, the gas stations are permitted on majority of this site. It's really just that
one
corner,
parcel.
which is that parcel B1.
Yeah.
And it's also the other side too, it's just parcel D on that PUD. Both of those are kind of the corners there, the southwest and
Got it.
southeast corners where prohibited uses are gas stations on those corners there.
And do you know when the State Street sub-area plan came first? And then the PUD came in later in 2004?
Yeah, the PUD was 2004. I don't have the exact date on the East State Street sub-area, but.
That's all I've got. Thank you for clarifying.
Anybody else at this point?
Before we open it to the public, I was just curious, this is coming forward as a permitted use versus a special use. Can you enlighten us a little bit on the subtleties there, why this wouldn't be considered a special use, particularly because it's prohibited today, and why it's brought forth as a permitted use?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could be either one, depending on what the commission felt. I think in this instance, it's allowed on majority of these parcels. If you're allowing it as a special use versus a permitted use on this one parcel, I don't know if that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I
but-
just was curious to the rationale.
Yeah.
And this request is only for this parcel. The parcel D across the street is.
That would remain-
remains restricted.
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, I appreciate everybody's time.
I guess there's only three here, so. Okay, who wants to speak first? We normally go sheep, but there's only three people, so whoever wants to speak first, please come forward.
Good evening, David Walensiak, 578 Lexington Drive in Geneva. I guess my feeling is Geneva's main objective should be to protect that Kirk Road corridor from ever-increasing truck traffic, noise, and pollution, and to maintain a safe setting. I think that this builder can build a beautiful facility in that, but the one and only one thing that's really making me to be negative on it is the truck usage. I have 8 issues for this committee to consider. And when I say truck, I mean semi-trucks, 18-wheelers. My first, number one concern is, and maybe he can address this, is why the Quick Trip is wanting to place this gas station here. How big of a role does the diesel truck business play in then putting it here? And by the way, from what I know, there are 2 other truck facilities, one south on Kirk in Batavia, I believe off of Wilson, and another one going east on 38 in West Chicago. I think those are the 2 closest facilities. But anyway, if we can get some feeling of what their business expectations are, how much does the truck usage play into all of this? If the truck business does play a major factor, then personally I'm totally against this, and I know a lot of the residents on the east side are not in favor of this. The residents on the east side are trying to minimize the amount of truck traffic along Kirk Road, so my main concern is the 5 diesel truck pumps. Now, I notice in the project narrative it says 3, and maybe we can get an explanation why the drawings in that, it seems to be showing 5. So how much more anticipated truck traffic might this bring to this intersection to the east side? Other sources from these other builders with the ongoing activities that we have keep telling us that most of the truck traffic will be traveling east and south from this overall area. But will this be facilitating more truck traffic in the wrong direction, bringing it in towards the city, into an area we are trying to minimize the truck traffic? If you build it, the trucks will come. The increased car traffic here, just because of where it's located on this corner, and I'll get into that, is also a concern. Number 2, there are 2 existing gas stations at this intersection. On the northwest corner, we have the Shell, and on the northeast corner, we have the Amstart. And the Pride of Fox Amoco gas station is only about a block west on State Street. My question is to this committee, is there enough business for 4 gas stations? Would this put any of the other stations in trouble? Are we building something and then we're going to find we're going to have a deserted other gas station on a corner? Number 3, the Kirk Road and State Street intersection is already extremely dangerous because of the bend on Kirk Road at this intersection. This adds to the overall safety issues at this intersection. 4, this is an extremely busy intersection, and the Quick Trip entrances and exits are very close to, number 1, the intersection, to the existing left turn lanes, to the start of the bridge, and to the entrances of the other businesses. Again, it's the truck traffic that I'm concerned about. You have to realize, you put in a left turn lane, but trucks don't stay in their lanes. They have to go across both lanes when they're making a left. In fact, many times they're pulling into the shoulder to come back onto the road. They can't, it's just, it's not their fault, that's just the size of the vehicles. 5, from the provided layout, there are 3 egresses to the station. It looks like right now 2 are for trucks. The truck egresses, 1 partial egress off of Kirk Road, and it sounds like that may or may not be in question. You can enter from the north and only exit to the south. This means that the anticipated majority of truck traffic coming to use the station, and again, truck traffic coming from the south or coming from the east, from where the new warehousing will all be located if you go to the east, must go through the intersection and use the State Street western entrance. From what I can see, that's probably the main entrance into this place because it's the only, I believe, full entrance to the gas station. And off of State Street, that westernmost entrance, which has the full egress, that lines up, I believe, across the way with Winfield Drive, which is the corner where BMO Harris is located. The only minor issue I have looking at the drawing is if you have trucks coming out of the gas station right now, and I'm just bringing this up in case this were to move forward, it doesn't seem like there's 2 lanes, like a left turn lane. If cars want to move out of the station to go east, it's holding up traffic within the station. Again, that's a minor issue. But my main issue is this is the main entrance in and out of there. The trucks turning left into the station from the east. And again, they're not only coming from the east down State Street, but they're coming from the south down Kirk and then making the left through the intersection. You only have 1 single left turn lane. And from right now, from what I can see, I scale it at home, it looks like you can fit 1 full truck. So won't this be a problem with vehicles backing up at that intersection? If that's the main intersection and we have, rush hour, and it's not only trucks, but cars be entering in there, what's going to happen with the backup? And again, they can't increase it unless they buy more property to the west or something gets done with the 2 left turn lanes that come off of State to go on the curb. 6, this property is considerably lower than the adjacent roadways. That's something that we're really not seeing here. Using a government site that I have access to, right now the intersection of Kirk and State Street is coming out at 806 feet elevation above sea level. And the property center, and I'm not trying to stretch things, that I was trying to average it out, looks like it's only 780 feet or 85 feet. So there's a 21-foot height difference between that intersection and we're probably just behind where the store is located. It's a considerable amount. I'm sure if you've driven through there, you're looking down into there. So trucks entering and leaving the station would be dealing with inclines and the busy traffic at the same time. So I see that as a concern, or at least something that really needs to be looked at. 7, what will the 10 truck parking spots be used for? And the reason that I ask this, unfortunately, in the last year or so, I've been helping to take care of some people that are in the southern suburbs towards Chicago, and I'm coming home at midnight from the south on Kirk Road, from Butterfield to Kirk, and I'm passing that one station that's off of Wilson, that's a truck gas station over there, that's Speedway. And one night, just for the heck of it, I'm looking, and there's like fully loaded in the parking spots with trucks. There was none at the gas pumps, but in the parking spaces. And I purposely just drove in there, and I took a look. They're all with their lights off, engines running, and I think they're probably using it to catch up on sleep, whatever. I guess, what would be allowed here if trucks are being used? And then number 8, what could the land south of here be used for if this is put in? And I know you just kind of addressed that. One question I have is, would another southern entrance ever be built using that underpass road, that Reed Road, coming from Old Kirk Road, to bring in a lot more truck traffic from these other sites along the extended Couts Road plans with all the warehouses? You know, is that a possibility? How much truck traffic are we really going to be bringing in over here? So my final thoughts and recommendations. Number 1, and I know the applicant addressed this a little bit, but personally, wouldn't it be great if Geneva and Quick Trip were groundbreakers in this area to build a station for gasoline and EV charging stations and eliminate the truck diesel pump part? Then instead of just a mini store, restaurants, a lot more business opportunities could be located along the perimeter for those waiting to charge up their vehicles for the 15, 20, 30 minutes, just to kill time to get a bite to eat. Again, it all depends on why Quick Trip is building here. How big of a deciding factor is the diesel truck fuel business to the construction of this project? If it's a big factor, then I feel we are headed in the wrong and a dangerous direction. We don't need a massive amount of more truck and even car traffic near this congested and already dangerous intersection. And how many trucks will this bring through downtown just so that they can get to the gas station? You know, one thing that comes to mind, I've lived here for 32, going on 33 years in Geneva, and I was in St. Charles before, and I come home late, and a lot of times I'll go down 38, and it'll either be late it'll be in the evening or late afternoon, it'll be a Sunday, and something that really bothered me, I never really remembered seeing all the truck traffic, and we're not going to eliminate that. It's already there. But do we want to add to the problem? I'll go at 4:30 on a Sunday afternoon. I can't see the traffic light because there's 3-4 trucks on State and 3rd. And that just kind of, we're just going to be greatly increasing all that with the more trucks that we bring in. If this was further east, this gas station, closer to Couts Road, even with the diesel truck pumps, I wouldn't be standing here before you. I would not have a problem with it. But this is a very poor location, especially when semi-trailer trucks are entering the equation. For these reasons, I'm asking this committee not to change the zoning at this time for this project as it's being presented. Any questions?
No.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi, my name's Hendrik Reich, 674 Green Meadow Lane. I agree with everything that David has just said. He went into great detail. The only things that I would add, and I had mentioned this the first time we looked at this proposal, is to also look at the local businesses. Everything around Kirk Road at that intersection are smaller businesses, smaller restaurants. Quick Trip's model is to bring in their own food. So we wouldn't just look at other gas stations business as in fuel. We would also be looking at those smaller local businesses, and is that a sustainable impact that we would want? In addition to all of the concerns with the truck traffic that has just been brought up. Secondly, and I know I said this the last time I was here, it was sloppy preparation of me. I looked at the comprehensive plan. The way I read it as a resident when I go to the website is that that area where this project is proposed was meant to be for business, which makes sense because we already have all of the other gas stations around it. From that end, I would say because there are all of these gas stations, we have smaller business, it does not make sense in that location, and I would ask you to not recommend this. And that's all I have for tonight. Great.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Maureen McKeel, 1568 Kirkwood Drive. I have two primary points and then a potpourri of a few minor ones. First of all, thank you for serving, for being the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I don't say that lightly or to get some goodwill. I thought about it coming here, and I'm sure you have many motivations. But I suspect that under some of them, or all of you have one motivation for being here, and that is you want to keep Geneva pleasing in some way. And I don't mean aesthetics. I mean you want it to be economically viable. You want it to be a good place for you to live and your children and your neighbors. You want it to thrive and exist for a long time with some degree of attractiveness. I think the people coming before you to speak as citizens want the same thing. And we're very fortunate that you're willing to work at that. And I think you're fortunate that the citizens are willing to support you and want that. The petitioners who come before you, that's not their job. Their job is to sell you something. And they have the best reasons in the world, and they're ethical people, I assume. But let's keep that in mind, our different roles. Our role is to, in some way, protect and preserve and promote Geneva. Their role is to make money by using some of our land. So that's the main thing I wanted to say. The second main thing I wanted to say was, I doubt if any of you were serving when the PUD was approved. Maybe some of you were, but it's almost 20 years old now. I hope we have faith that they were as faithful and far-reaching, far-seeing as you are. They knew they didn't want a gas station here. They specified that. So let's keep faith with them. And unless things have changed dramatically, let's not undo what they did. And in that connection, I would suggest that one of the changes has been, do we need one more gas station? I would say there or anywhere, given what the future of transportation will probably be, and given, if we back up and take a bird's eye view, what's happened at North Avenue 64 and Kirk Road. We have a mammoth station that has just opened there. So that is a grave concern to me. I don't think we need one more gas station, but it's up to you to decide that, you and others. In a potpourri way, I wanted to say, it was mentioned that Kirk Road is a pretty important piece for us. And I'm sure for anybody wanting to develop that, well, Kirk Road is a very important piece for me. I live in Kirkwood. That's a townhouse complex some of you may know. The entry to it comes off of Kirk Road, just a little bit north of where this gas station would be. One of the things that disturbs me is the notion of a 24-hour place with its lights on. And I remember when the Wendy's, not too far from my house, was approved, they were specifically required to close, I think, by 10 p.m. It may be a little later than that, but not much. So the notion of 24-hour lights, 24-hour truck traffic, 24-hour screeching brakes. I don't think we want that. I know I don't want that. The other thing, it seems to me, is that the whole question of access to this, I won't go into the details. I don't profess to understand them nearly as much as either the petitioner or David. But just common sense, that is a corner I drive so often. I travel a lot to Chicago and to other places and locally. And to think of a left turn lane off of 38 into this property so close to the corner of 38 and Kirk, it seems, it flies in the face of common sense, as do some of the other things in terms of the traffic I've seen, the places I've been stopped, the risks that some people and trucks are taking in that area. So I would hope you would also consider that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak on this matter? Anyone? Okay, I guess we'll hear from the applicant again.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate everybody's comments. And at the end of this, I would like to give you guys my business card so you guys can reach out to me if you have any further questions throughout this process. I wanted to mention that I also drive this road every day. I live in Elburn, so I drive 38 every day. I go past this location every day. I understand that there's a lot of traffic there. Our business doesn't necessarily attract more people. We just reroute the traffic that's already there. I know there was a lot of issues, a lot of concern with Kirk Road. Kirk Road's currently getting ready to undergo a very large renovation where they're going to be widening out Kirk Road. And with that, there's going to be additional space that's going to be on Kirk Road. So the trucks coming out and taking a right there is not going to be as big of a concern when the Kirk Road construction's completed as it is currently. So Kirk Road's also going to have has a median there. There wouldn't be any left out traffic off that to Kirk Road. And State Street, one of the objections was State Street and the access there, the left turn in. We're expecting to get some comments from IDOT because they are very thorough whenever it comes to looking at access and what it will do to traffic. And we would like to make sure that we're not fighting IDOT. So we want to agree with them as well. So that access, as far as the business would go, we would leave those comments up to IDOT and make as much of a change as we possibly can to make sure that it's as safe as possible. Truck diesel, it is a fairly important part. It's not our whole business model. We don't solely rely on diesel sales to run our operations, but for a company like Quick Trip, it does factor into what makes these projects viable. We make a very large and time-consuming investment into each location that we look at. So understanding that there are also 2 other gas stations on the corners there, we, based on our traffic counts and IDOT's traffic counts, there is enough traffic there going different directions that's controlled by the medians and the way the traffic flow works that we wouldn't be stealing anybody else's customers. We would be capturing a different set of passengers that come through the intersection. I think I addressed all the concerns. If anybody has anything else that they would like me to address.
There was a question about, is there going to be 3 trucks pumping stations or 5?
Yes, so it's 3 bays that allows 4 trucks. I don't know if that makes sense. So we've got 1, 2, 3 bays here. These are not necessarily end caps for allowing trucks to fuel there. So this outside bay right here doesn't actually have a pump. So we have 1, 2, and 3, 4 fueling positions, but it's 3 bays. Does that make-
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Hopefully that answers any more questions. Was there anything else that I didn't? Yes.
And I think the question was asked about overnight truck parking. Is that allowed?
I worked in one of these stores in Tulsa. This is the type of store that I came from. We are trained to not allow overnight parking. We try to allow a little bit of time for them to park there and rest and get some food, but we don't allow like overnight parking. We don't allow them to drop their trailers and leave. We would have that towed. But we also work with our local law enforcement. We're trained to go out and politely talk to them. Sometimes those situations aren't warranted because our employees don't want to. We would ask for the police officers to go out there and do a health and welfare check and ask them to politely leave the property. And that generally works for us. We don't usually have any issues after that. And most of the time, they're willing to move. They understand that these aren't there for 24 hours or overnight parking. Some of our locations, we have no overnight parking signs right there. That way, as soon as they pull into the spots, they know that they're not allowed to park for a long period of time.
Yeah, go ahead, Rebecca.
Just to clarify, it is a 24-hour business though, right?
Yes, yes. So we're a 24-hour business. We have 3 different shifts. So we have a morning shift, mid shift, and an overnight shift. The overnight shift would have 1 to 2 managers as well as a part-time clerk on it. So there would be 2 to 3 people on the clock at all times for employee safety as well as maintaining our property.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have an idea of what percentage of your daily business is done in those different shifts?
I don't have a percentage for you, but I can absolutely get that.
That'd probably be a question that comes up, should there be a site plan review?
Okay.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
I have a question for staff. I just want to be really clear about where we are in this process and what an approval or a disapproval means and just those steps moving forward so it's clear.
Yes, I mean, this is kind of the very initial phase, I think, for the applicant. They're really coming to us to see if a gas station in general would be allowed at this location. From a staff level perspective, we have not done a site plan review. We have not really reviewed the site plan at all. We're really just looking at it as a request for if a gas station in general would be allowed there. And then the second part is, do we want to amend the approved PUD plans, which had kind of shown streets running through the sites? Do we want to allow them to kind of remove those essentially because it is only one user and they wouldn't necessarily need those streets, the street access?
Okay, so changing the PUD is not a path, it's not like, it's a pathway to, but not like.
Yeah, I mean, it essentially allows the applicant to come back and apply for it would be like a final PUD.
Okay.
Which would, again, have to go through a whole nother review process. It wouldn't require a public hearing at that point, but it would have to be reviewed by the PZC.
Okay.
And then ultimately through city council again.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else at this stage?
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. You can ask me a question, yes.
Permitted versus special.
What lighting requirements does the city have in
Question
terms of
staff.
businesses?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know off the top of my head what the lighting requirements are.
You don't?
No, I mean, again, we haven't reviewed that. yet at this phase. We'd have to be reviewed at the next phase, should this be permitted for this site.
I'm sorry, I think I was trying to ask it a little differently. What are the lighting requirements? Or are you saying that the lighting requirements in general in the city would not apply?
No, they would apply. I mean, it might depend. I don't know if the PUD has specific lighting requirements. Again, it's something I haven't looked into at this point, yeah.
And that relates, then the add-on to that is, have those, to your knowledge, changed at all recently? There's so much written now about light pollution. Has the city reviewed those within recent years?
We
Have they
haven't
become more
amended.
restrictive?
No, we haven't amended the lighting policies.
So
Again,
how
I don't
old are
know.
they, do you know?
I'm not sure when the exact date of the.
Are
when the
they
lighting was
before
approved.
you, before you were here?
Probably.
Oh, yeah. 'cause
Okay.
you went there
Definitely.
A short period of time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
May I ask one more question?
Just to me, yes, or staff.
The only follow-up question that I would have is regarding how is the applicant handling this height difference, which seems to be, at least in my mind, a major concern. We're talking 21-foot height difference between, I think, where the body of the pumps are and where the roadway, which makes it a very, very steep inclines for trucks getting in and out on already congested area.
Yeah, that was one you had earlier, so
Yes.
yeah, we just need to follow up. And I kind of have a follow-up on that as well, just to tag along. I think when this came in for preliminary review, I had a suggestion of what kind of wall treatment you were gonna have on the south side and what material was gonna be used, and so it looks attractive. So if you would come forward and answer those two questions are related.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to skip over those questions. So with the lighting, we obviously would adhere to the city code. But just to give an overview on kind of what we do, all of our lights are shielded. They're all pointed towards the ground. It's enough to allow our cameras to pick up our property, but the property lines and beyond are shielded from our lighting. So we make sure that we point everything inside to our site and don't allow light to escape on the outside as best as possible. And there's a lot of stuff that they have nowadays that blocks the peripheral lighting. And then as far as the height difference, we are actually building up our site. It'll be at our building height will be at 798 feet at our building height where our building sits. So only be a couple feet below the actual intersection. Just to give a little bit more, like you said, the difference between our grade is we're going from 798 feet to the very south portion of our property we're showing is at 768 feet. So from the top of our portion to the bottom is very steep, and we kind of hit it right around that 780 foot mark is kind of where our lowest point is on our actual development portion.
And that results in a wall of what size and what material on the south?
So we would do a retaining wall, whatever's required. Obviously, that's going to change with what we find out from here. If we're going to need to reduce some space, then we'll have to less
Okay.
runoff to worry about and all the other stuff that applies with the retaining wall.
But can you give me an idea of what
Yeah,
quarter
so-
magnitude the wall will be?
Yeah,
Obviously, you won't know
so,
exactly, but
A lot of our locations, we do like a black metal fence with stacked stone columns. We can do stacked stone. We do brick retaining walls. We try to stay away from the chain link fence because we know that doesn't look good to separate properties. So we want to be something that looks good, and we try to make sure that we maintain that every day. So we want to be something to look good at.
We'll just note too, there are specific lighting guidelines for the
Yeah.
East State Street corridor. I mean, obviously, we'd have to work through that with the applicant.
yeah,
If that
in
was.
terms of the amount of light that's allowed
Right.
off property, I mean, that's a standard reg that the
Right.
city has across the board.
Yeah, we will have a photometric plan available and all that.
Yeah, it's
as well.
required, so. Anything else from commission at this point? John?
And I'm not sure we're going to go here, but my understanding is when we close the public hearing, we cannot have any more dialogue with the applicant. So is that correct?
I think we can still discuss with the applicant. It's just closed.
And let me just tell you what I'm thinking is, I'm sensitive to the fact that we've got two other gas stations on the corner. Almost 19 years ago, it was decided there shouldn't be gas stations on the other two hard corners. But we still have a prohibition against that on the southeast corner. If we were to move forward and find that this was an acceptable development, I find myself still playing with permitted versus special. That way, if these guys didn't come forward or with this, we still would have that just as a special use. It wouldn't be a by right use for someone else coming in. So that I wanted us to debate that or discuss that, and then have the ability of Mr. Evans to respond to that if he would be amenable if we change that language to special use. Is that something that he would find amenable in a recommendation to City Council?
Yeah, and so I think Matt kind of touched on this earlier. It's whatever process we have to go through is kind of what we have to go through. A special use and being allowed by right, obviously they're different. The end goal's generally the same. I understand your reasoning for wanting a special use because it gives you guys conditions, obviously, that we would have to meet to make sure that we're viable there.
All right.
So I personally, I don't think Quick Trip either sees any issues going either way. We just would like to know which way we need to go.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions at this point? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Excellent.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second, Slivka.
Moved and seconded. Anna, please call the roll.
Mead,
Mead, aye.
Slivka,
Slivka, aye.
Holloman,
Holloman, aye.
Mataskill,
Madaskil, aye.
Moran,
Moran, aye.
Stocking.
Stocking, aye. Yes, Tim.
I think it's important to remember what we're not doing tonight. We're not doing a site plan review. There are two questions, and only two questions. The removal of the roads, which is a question I don't get to until we deal with the first question, which is the amendment of the PUD to allow this as either a special use, as Commissioner Mead pointed out. I gotta say, I'm struggling with this. My dad was a truck driver. I worked at the trucking company. Truck drivers talk. They know where these big stations are. And by the way, this is not simply a gas station. This is a 24-hour eat-em-up joint where truck drivers are going to come to. And I appreciate that they chase off the trucks and they're not allowed to stay there all night, but I know truck drivers. My concern, and I brought it up earlier, and they're connected, is the big green piece that's unaccounted for and that left-hand turn lane across 38. In my mind, that's really difficult to agree to. Regarding the 20-year conversation that was had in the specific language that said this can be anything automobile-related except a gas station. I could overcome that if that's all this was, because if you look at the permitted uses back then, permitted special uses for this property included a heliport and a sanitarium. Times have changed. I mean, we don't want either of those. There's no need for those. And if I thought that a simple gas station here would serve the greater good, I would seriously consider it. The gas stations on the other corners, those are 800, 1,200 square foot buildings. This is 7,200 square foot, 24-hour takeout restaurant facility with 3 or 4 truck bays. And again, I'm very sympathetic to truck drivers. It's a hard life. They don't make a lot of money. They're on the road a lot, away from their families. But I'm just not sure I can support changing the zoning here simply because of the location, because of the backup, because of the turn radius. And I think 20 years ago, when these folks decided they can have anything here that's car-related except a gas station, maybe they took all that into consideration.
Those are all good and valid points, and I can't disagree with any of them. But I find myself thinking that if we were to move forward tonight and approve both of these things, every one of those points and every one of the points I brought up and all the other commissioners brought up, and the public has brought up, are related primarily to the site plan. And we are going to have a second bite to say, this doesn't work because you cannot have enough truck stacking, making a left turn coming in from the east. If IDOT doesn't come up with something that's acceptable for the developer and for IDOT and for the city of Geneva, this won't go forward at site plan approval. So that's, there's a lot of things, the height of the building, the look, the traffic flow interior, the ingress and egress to the exterior. We will have another bite to see how that will work when it becomes a final plan. I do think that in 2004, they probably didn't want a third or a fourth gas station there, and we've seen that, to my knowledge, there's only been one level, any bit of meaningful interest on either parcel, the southeast corner or here. We had the workforce housing that came up 18 months ago or something for this site, and we had some sort of truck terminal or something, repair terminal for the southeast corner. There has not been a lot of interest either because of how these are located, the proximity to the intersection, the fall off in topography or whatever it is. It's probably time to revisit, should we allow a gas station there. And I could probably get there as a special use, but I don't know that this is a site plan that excites me yet. So.
Yes, Michael?
Actually, I agree with a lot of the things John said. And many of these things were good points, but they'll not only apply to developing the site as a gas station, but as anything. I mean, the access points on Kirk Road and 38 are all going to be important. They're all going to have to work regardless of the use. Whether the amount of truck traffic is the same or different. And again, 20 years ago, all of that industrial and all the trucking uses didn't exist on Kirk Road and in a lot of this area. So things have changed a bit. So yeah, I think, and I'm also not comfortable evaluating somebody's business model as a criteria for the use. So at this stage, yeah, and I think, just to clarify, so a special use would apply only to the applicant, correct? If it were a special use versus a permitted use.
I mean, it would apply to any,
supplemental.
Right, but any applicant would have to get a special use then.
for a gas station.
Right.
Yeah,
For B1, the corner.
for that corner.
The hard
That
corner.
corner, yeah.
Right.
It would tie to the PUD, which would be just tied like this applicant is, without having a gas station as a permitted use. Now they'd be tied to a special condition.
Thanks.
Any other comments?
I was just going to say, I appreciate your comment about not making an assessment about the business model. I appreciate the business model. I appreciate the things that you said about the giving back to the community and the charities, and I really like that. I just feel like it's not a very forward-thinking use, and so I'm trying to get to the point where I feel like, okay, yes, that should be allowed to have another gas station when we do have other ones in very close proximity, and the idea that it won't deter from any of those other businesses, I kind of find that difficult to believe. I mean, I guess for the trucking piece, yes, but, so yeah, kind of stuck there with it, I guess.
I guess it's appropriate to say, if you didn't have this site plan in front of you, would you want to allow as a special use a gas station on this hard corner? Not knowing anything about the ingress egress issues, the truck stacking, or anything else, because right now that's stuck, it's flat in our face, because we have a proposed, I expect that the ultimate site plan will look largely like this, but there should be some modifications for ingress and egress, but we won't know that until 90 days from now, or whatever, if this comes back, so. I'm trying to take myself a step back and just focus on, should we have this use allowed as a special or permitted use? And I would, at some point, may recommend we change it to special use and have that discussion.
Somebody brought up earlier, I think the applicant did, about the changes that are going to be happening to Kirk, and what, how the road was going to change, like widened. So I was curious when that will be taking place, if there's any. That's the other thing that kind of stuck in my head is, maybe they would be changing in a way that would make that corner more appealing to other and different types of businesses
Yeah,
that
and
do fit within the.
That I don't have an answer to.
Okay.
I mean, ultimately, it's obviously a KDOT decision.
Yeah.
And it's dependent on when they feel like they can move forward with that. But, yeah, I haven't heard anything specifically about
Like a
timeline
start
there.
date.
Yeah.
What about just the nature of the changes? It's just basically widening?
I
Is
believe
that-
so.
Okay.
Again, I'm not expressly familiar with
Well, if they
exactly
widen
what
it, there'll be
changes,
some
but
geometry change in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
intersection. It's inevitable. So,
Okay.
I mean, I don't see the plans, but if you widen the road, you're gonna have geometry changes in the intersection.
Can I speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
I think, I spoke a little bit for the Venture Park project, right? And I think in that, I looked at the KDOT plans for when they were gonna widen the roads, and I think it just depends on different levels of development along the road, and when those reach a certain level, which increases the traffic, then that trigger them
I
to
see.
widen it. So it's just a widening, but it depends on, traffic.
So it's traffic count conditions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
one of the complaints about Kirk from the get-go has been that it had hard curbs and not a shoulder for someone to avoid an accident or anything else, so maybe they'll eliminate some of that when they do expand it.
That is a safety issue, so. From my perspective, I'm having a hard time with the change in use on PUD, just because I don't believe trucks should be allowed in this location. And given the volume of trucks that we keep adding on with the amount of uses going on and around this area with the warehousing, it's just, we shouldn't be promoting additional trucks in Geneva, in my opinion. So, from my perspective, I'm not for it.
I'm going to make, or I want to throw out there, because it may affect the motion, we have to make a motion on this. I'm going to suggest we put this forth as a special use. The applicants already said they'd be amenable to that. And that allows us to address Scott's issues and Tim's issues and everyone's issues when we get the site plan. What are your truck, how much truck usage are you going to have? That issue is not going away between now and when site plan approval comes back. So it's just, would you allow a gas station use on this,
Yeah.
one of the three parcels?
I think for me, that wouldn't make a difference, honestly, if it was a special use. But, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me.
Well, what it does is it allows us to consider it for any applicant each time, as opposed to being a by right development. So when anybody comes through with a gas station, whether it's Quick Trip or somebody else, we have the right to tear apart the operations and the ingress and egress and the effect on traffic and truck flow and approve or deny it based on that, on each particular case, versus if it's a permitted use, they could come in and we wouldn't have the right to say that, right?
And then, just to clarify, based on the agenda from the last meeting with the EV stations being tied to gas station permissions,
Right.
if it was a special use, then an EV station could also come in and say, that, you know, to make a proposal,
Right.
Sure.
if it was zoned to have a gas station.
I
Isn't
would
that what
ass-
we,
I would assume so, yeah.
okay,
I mean, the language hasn't been formally approved, I guess, yet, but
okay,
I would assume yes.
okay, thank you.
Yes, Tim?
Yeah, I'm persuaded by what Commissioner Mead is saying, that if we approve the PUD amendment to a special use, which basically mandates that every applicant bring forth his plans, then I think at least the plaintiff gets his day in court. I think it's pretty clear from our comments today that the members of this panel have some serious considerations about what we've seen so far, and we haven't seen much. And that even passing such an amendment is certainly no guarantee that this project will ultimately be favorably looked upon. But it I think, gets him his day in court. And I'm persuaded that that motion, as opposed to making it a permitted use, is something I could support. But again, the day is forthcoming when now we really start to take a deep dive into the plans themselves.
I'd have to agree. The biggest challenges I have to do with the site plan themselves. I'm not in love with the idea of having diesel stations in there, but I also realize that there's some value in having a 24-hour convenience store on the east side, because I live on the east side, and I think that is a benefit that I think we're overlooking. I did some traveling this summer and actually happened to be in a Quick Trip and was really surprised on the cleanliness, the quality of selection for a gas station. So I would tend to agree that I think, allowing him to move to the next step would allow us to then look at the site plan and determine what really would be a deal breaker or something we could work with.
Another thing, Mr. Evans has got his ears open, and when he goes back to home office, they could come back with a site plan that's very similar to this, but they could have limited hours for truck fueling. That might change our perspective, that after 10 p.m. or something, there's no truck fueling. I don't know, I'm not trying to, but he's heard a lot of feedback from community and from the commission members, and so we don't know what's going to come back. But I think, in my mind, as a special use, they should be given their ability to do that.
Okay, any other comments? I'm not persuaded,
Okay.
but that's okay. Any other comments? All right, motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to modify Exhibit 7, permitted special and prohibited uses in common areas of the East Gateway PUD to allow gas stations as a special use for parcel B1, subject to the findings of fact contained in the staff report.
Second, Slivka.
Moved and seconded. Anna, please call the roll.
Mead,
Aye.
Slivka,
Slivka, aye.
Holloman,
Holloman, no.
Madaskil,
Madaskil, aye.
Moran,
Moran, aye.
Stocking.
Stocking, aye.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to modify the street layout for parcels A through C as detailed on Exhibit 3, the PUD land use plan, to remove the proposed streets for the subject location at the southwest corner of Kirk Road and Illinois 38, subject to the findings of fact contained in the staff report.
Slivka, second.
Moved and seconded, Anna.
Mead,
Mead, aye.
Slivka,
Slivka, aye.
Holloman,
Holloman, nay.
Madaskil,
Madaskil, aye.
Moran,
Moran, aye.
Stocking.
Stocking, nay. Okay.
Okay, so, yeah, so both of these items will go before City Council, tentatively November 6th. I'll send kind of the info along to you, Skylar.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for the comments. Appreciate them as well. Thank you. All right, so the next item on our agenda is public comment, and I have to read an actual statement. So I will do so, and I don't think, or maybe there's somebody here, this gentleman here might want to comment. Public comment, when recognized by the chair, please proceed to the podium, state your name for the record, and provide your public comments. Please understand your time to be heard at the public body's time is to listen. No discussion and debate will follow. And here he comes. I knew he was going to talk to me, or to the commission, that is, not just to me.
John Dashner over on Lexington Drive. I do wonder about the coordination of activities with expanding bike paths, expanding bridges here on Kirk Road, the coordination of that development, our development of warehouses, the volume of traffic that is going through. I'm concerned with all, just that overall coordination and how that all is being put into place. I just think we need to look at this holistically. And I'm sure everybody here has driven north on Kirk Road, turned west on 38, and at rush hour have seen how much traffic is there. Or when you're going east on Roosevelt Road, trying to turn north on Kirk, I just don't see how any of these elements are promoting the idea of what a great community Geneva is. And yet, City Council is currently considering an SSA tax to develop 3rd Street. And the east side is having a focus on more truck and diesel fuel and more warehouses and such. I just think we need to look at all of those things holistically. I think that the bridge development, expansion of Kirk Road and how that's going to impact on us is something that city staff should really pay attention to and should have some hard, solid, concrete answers. And saying that, well, I just don't know, is simply just not adequate in my mind. You know, you're an advocate for us at the county level, and I would think that you would want to understand how those developments and how those plans are going to be affecting the development that we're all being asked to talk about. I do appreciate the hard work that you folks do. It's not enviable, it really isn't. And I know you're looking at it from a long-term perspective, but I would really, really hope that you would take time to look at this holistically. And as the woman so eloquently stated, I remember when that Wendy's was put in place and the storm of activity that people had because they were afraid about the traffic and they were afraid about the lighting. And yet here we are talking about putting 3 or 4 or 5, I'm not sure how many we're supposed to be having, but we've got a bunch of trucks that are gonna be coming through there. And yet before, we were worried about, people going through a drive-through at Wendy's. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but I know I certainly do. And it's important to look at all this stuff holistically. And I believe it's incumbent upon that city staff to really pay attention to what's going on at the county level and work with IDOT to make sure that our interests are really taken care of and advocated for. So I would appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Appreciate your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak? All right, thank you. Matt, what do we got coming up?
A couple items here. So we don't have any agenda items for the October 24th meeting. I'm not sure about, the next meeting will be November 9th. Stay tuned for that one. I'm not sure if we will have anything on that one either. And then we're off on the second week or the second meeting of November. We don't have a meeting then. But I'll keep you posted at least up for that first November meeting. For past projects, we had the 304 Deerfield fence variation, and then we also had the Roosevelt. Both of those were approved by City Council. We have the Venture Park project. That one was originally scheduled to go before City Council October 23rd. They have since requested to kind of be taken off that agenda, and we'll keep you updated once we hear back from the applicant on when they want to go to City Council.
So it's not scheduled?
It's off the City Council schedule for now, yeah. And that is all I have.
General idea of pipeline? I mean, you don't have things ripen, what's ripening?
For just general projects?
Yeah,
We've got, so currently we have a new application came in for a cell tower. That's one we'll probably be looking at, I would assume, by the end of this year.
I think I saw that. It was a
Yeah,
location
silly.
we've already addressed once before.
Correct. It is it's on Randall Road. It's the same location. I believe the application came in 2021.
Right. Bentry.
That one, yeah, they've resubmitted an application for that location. It's currently under staff review.
Okay.
I would assume, again, probably December, January, we'd be bringing that before PZC. Otherwise, we're kind of waiting on a bunch of applicants to resubmit their projects. And staff is kind of, in a hold position right now, waiting for a lot of applicants to get us materials.
The land developer and Ryan Holmes for the C-Tron site?
Yep.
Is that just quiet?
So they are currently working to remediate the site.
That's what it looks like. Yeah.
That's been underway for a while. From what we've been told, it sounds like they should be wrapping that up hopefully soon.
So they
But-
come forward with some sort of clean action, no further action letter?
Yeah,
It looks
so
like they're taking out 6 to 8 feet of soil.
Right.
They're going at it.
I believe they're trying to
Yeah.
remediate it for residential
Okay.
specifications.
Sure.
So it requires more than was previously done.
There's residents there now, so.
Yeah, but we have not received any application for that site yet.
Anything on the Duke and Lee's project? I call it Duke and Lee's.
Duke and
not- but the
Lee's
Duke and Lee's
was-
site.
They got a extension on the previously approved
So they got an extension.
site
okay.
plan. That will be extended for another year, but we
Okay.
have not, again,
But
haven't
nothing
received.
submitted, at least
no.
they got the extension.
Correct,
Okay.
yep.
All right, anything else from the commission?
Where's Matt?
I know, somebody has to say something.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you, John.